Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining. This is Mark Lange. I'm pleased to be here with my friend and colleague for 20 plus years, Dean Minuto. We're excited to introduce the second of the Arch Smart podcast series. First one was back in March, where we provided some tips on working from home and also gave a little bit of a preview of what we're going to spend more time on today. I'm going to just ask, we're going to have an ask for everybody. I'm going to preview it now and I'll recap at the end. Everybody should have Dean's email address. You received it with the confirmation for this, and you have mine as well. We're going to ask at the end if you could send us what's one thing that you took away that you're going to start doing based on what we went through today. So just a preview, so you have a pen and pencil ready to write that down. With that, Dean,
all
welcome,
right, brother.
And thank you for taking the time with us.
Oh, every day is a chance for us to be starting different. We're never starting over, we're starting different. And I've been sending Mark pictures of the sunrises each morning and refocusing on us and what we want to contribute to people that day. I've been doing a series of these webinars, and here's the point that I want to make to you guys. The universe will never allow the same. It's either growth or decline, and it's your choice. And every day is a chance for us to start different. This series, we're focusing on a button that you guys can push to start different. In this case, to apply the magnets. Now, Mark, I know that this had jumped out at people in the first. It was a little bit of candy we showed them in the first webcast, and they were interested in hearing more. But I also know this term, there's a reason that I picked it to describe the shortcuts that the human brain uses. I call them the magnets. And Mark, one of your hobbies, you are a master craftsman, you're a woodworker. I don't know if everyone knows that about you, but you actually use magnets in woodworking, you were telling me. Tell the audience how you use magnets and what they do for you.
Yeah, so there's a magnet called rare earth magnets that are very powerful, and you can use them to, when you have cabinets, hold the cabinet doors, shut and together and lined up. I can use it to hang tools up. So they're really powerful.
So we know that magnets are used in a variety of purposes. In manufacturing, they're used to align things. In machinery, they're used to attract and hold things together, but they're also used as a forcing mechanism to move things forward. So I want you to understand that's why I picked this term magnets, because behavioral psychologists, those are folks who study how people make decisions, tell us their shortcuts. And these magnets are shortcuts that you guys can use to get people in alignment with you, to attract people to your message or to your offer or what you want them to do, and to advance them, to move them forward. So there's 7 of them. If you guys would take out a blank sheet of paper and write down the word magnets. And I'm going to go through each one of these today, and we're going to talk about how you guys can apply them. But the magnets, that's an acronym for motion, ask, give, nice, evidence, trust, and supply. Together or individually, these can be used to help people move forward, help them make decisions faster. So forward motion and forcing mechanisms. I'm giving you guys tools to get things moving, but primarily to help you avoid something. I know that you guys know what to do. I know how talented Arch is. I know how smart your employees are. And you guys do the right things almost every time. But there are those times where you get off the phone with a peer, or maybe you have an interaction with someone in your family, you go, oh, I could have done this, or I should have done this, or if I only would have done this. And what I hope to do with everything that I'm contributing is help you guys eliminate the coulda, shoulda, wouldas. And there's secrets. There's secrets in pushing these buttons. And I'm going to share with you the 3 biggest secrets as framing before we get started. But the bottom line is this. What if there was a button in the human brain that you could push to trigger decisions in an honest and ethical way? And what if you could do that with any person, any place, anytime? Well, you'd want to hit that button. You'd want to hit that button. And everything about what I'm going to share with you is well known. It may seem like a secret how people do this effectively, but it's only a secret till you know it. So I'm going to tell you 3 secrets to get started. First secret about behavior and what triggers people's brains was first documented in the 1600s by a Scottish scientist by the name of John Locke. He coined this term. He used 3 buckets, and he coined this term perceptual contrast. So before I walk you through how it works, what I want you to know is everything that I'm going to share with you, everything that behavioral psychology teaches us is about creating framing for people. And here's the definition. You can change how someone feels about anything based on what you give them to feel before that thing. It's called perceptual contrast. That's the scientific term. A good friend of mine, the world's most often quoted living psychologist, Dr. Robert Cialdini, wrote this book 20 years ago, 25 years ago, right about the time when Mark and I first started working. By the way, he says the most important concept, and it became the basis of his second book. He's only written 2 major books, guys, and they're both bestsellers. They're huge. This was the first, The Psychology of Influence. The second, The Psychology of Persuasion, Influence. The second was called Persuasion, not persuasion. What you do is less important than what you did just before that thing. So 3 buckets. John Locke said, let's fill the middle bucket up with room temperature water. Let's fill the bucket here on the left up with ice water. And the bucket on this side, let's fill it with hot water, Mark. Now, Mark, suppose I take your left hand and I put it in the ice bucket and I hold it there. Now let's take your right hand and put it in the hot bucket. Now I take them both out and I put them both in the room temperature bucket. Mark, how does the hand that had been soaking in the ice, how does that hand experience the room temperature bucket?
It thinks it's hot.
It thinks it's hot. How about the other hand, which had been in the hot water? How does it experience the room temperature bucket?
As cold.
So here's the first secret, guys. If you take nothing else away from this session, I'd like you to write this down. Whenever you're trying to influence, persuade, whether it's someone in your family, whether it's someone on your team, whether it's a client, I want you to ask yourself 2 questions. Here's the first question. What do I want them to feel? What do I want them to feel? And here's the second question. What am I going to give them to feel before that thing to make it more likely that they feel what I want? No one experiences anything in a vacuum. People experience everything with the context you set. And I'm going to share with you a shortcut to help you set that context. So that's the first secret, perceptual contrast. You can change how someone feels about anything based on what you give them, what you structure for them to feel before that thing. I don't know about you guys, but there are people in my life where they start the conversation by saying, I got some really bad news. This is going to upset you. Now, Mark, I don't know about you, but it doesn't matter what they say after that, because what am I already?
Upset.
I'm already upset. Okay, so guys, think about the framing. Okay, here's the second tip and the second biggest secret. Anyone you need a yes from, everyone you need a yes from has a brain, and their brain has only 2 goals. That's it. I've been studying this for the last 30 years. Their brain has only 2 goals. First goal, to keep them alive. Second goal, to use as little energy as possible in keeping them alive. So the most important secret I can give you today, other than perceptual contrast, is this. Risk is more powerful in influencing people's decision than reward. 3 months ago, this slide would have said twice as powerful. But guess what? We have new research. As of January, the new research came out through these guys, The Power of Bad. It's now evident that bad is twice as powerful as good. Human beings are constantly scanning the environment, looking for evidence of things that might put them at risk. And their assumption is that any change in their environment is what, Mark?
Is bad and risky.
Bad, danger, because the primitive part of the brain, which is actually called the 5F brain, and by the way, you know the first 2 F's, folks, because Robert Ornstein coined this term. The first F is fight. Is this thing around me something that I need to protect myself? The second is flight. Do I need to run away from it? Is it too big for me to kick its butt? Freeze. Whoa, it's big. Maybe it won't see me. Okay. Food. Is it something I can eat? And the 5th F, Mark, as you know, is sexual reproduction. That's right, Mark's got it. Okay, but let's move on because there's a different kind of 5F that they talk about in this book. And that 5F actually is something that marriage counselors have known for more than a decade. The 5F rule says this: for a marriage or a relationship to last, there needs to be 5 familiar experiences for every fight. In other words, how often is this couple experiencing good things together? And is that 5 times more than they're experiencing bad things? Folks, here's how I want you to think about this. If there's a bad experience with a client, if there's a bad experience with someone on your team, in your family, it's going to take 5 good experiences to make up for that. Just know this: risk is more powerful than reward, and people will avoid pain before seeking gain. Safer almost always beats better. Okay, third secret, Mark, before we get into the magnets, because I want to give us at least 21 minutes on the magnets. Here's the most important thing to know about how the brain uses energy. The brain is the most energy, where is he? There he is. The brain is the most energy consumptive organ in the body. 2 to 3% of your body's mass. I weigh 20 pounds less now, Mark, than I did at the start of COVID.
Nicely done. Yeah.
Most of it was hair, which I just got rid of this morning because our salon just opened. Okay, 20 pounds of hair. My brain is roughly 4 to 5 pounds. That's not important. What is important is the amount of energy our brains use. 25%, a quarter of the body's energy, constantly firing. But the brain knows there are moments of power that it really needs to pay attention to. And it is the beginning and end of anything that the brain, from a evolutionary survival perspective, knows it's most at risk. So the beginning of any event, going into someplace new, okay, leaving someplace, starting a meeting, ending a meeting, Monday, Friday, these are beginnings and ends. Okay, so think about, if you have important information to share, make sure you're sharing it at the beginning and the end of your conversations. Okay, so we've gone through those. Let's go through the 7 shortcuts. Guys, you got these written down. We got motion, ask, give, nice, evidence, trust, and supply. Mark and I have been focusing for 20 years on making the invisible visible for people. What I'm going to make visible for you today is the invisible things your brain does when it makes decisions. And I'm going to share with you curriculum that's intentional, which is magnets. There's a model there. Okay, we've also put together, Mark has seen over the years, we've rolled out a coaching model, and I've considered it in alignment with what the top guns do, and it's called the coaching path. So I can give you guys a model also how you can engage and move your team forward. But remember, 2 goals every brain: keep you alive, use as little energy as possible in achieving that goal. All right, so top part of the brain, the neocortex. This is the part of the brain that we're talking about. The neocortex is triggered by things. Scientists, Mark, refer to them as cognitive biases.
Right.
There's more than 188 of them. That's too many to remember. But magnets is the perfect number to remember. 7 digits. There was a reason for that. Mark, do you know why I picked no more than 7 digits? Did we ever talk about this for acronyms and models?
No.
Because Bell Labs determined that's as many as people could remember in a phone number. That's why phone numbers had 7 digits. Okay, so I call them brain whispers, and we're going to go through them today. Mark, let's give this a start. Let's jump in here. Okay.
Yep.
Forward motion forcing mechanisms, 7. Let me move the camera away. Let me grab a marker. Mark, which one of the 7 do you want to talk about first?
Let's start with A.
You want to start with the A. You want to start with the A.
Yeah.
Folks, here's what I need you to understand. The person asking the questions controls the conversation and creates the framing. I can tell you, because I have studied in depth thousands of sales professionals, I can tell you the moment she loses control of a meeting, it's the moment she allows her customer to ask her questions that she is not prepared for. And until she takes control back of that meeting, the person who has asked the questions is in control of the conversation. In every industry, guys, here's what I want you to think about. Before you're going into your next engagement, your next interaction with anything, ask yourself, what are the questions they're likely to ask? And am I prepared to take control back? So somewhere between 30,000 mortgage loan officers I trained at the height of the mortgage boom. There's a question mark that every loan officer is going to get asked on every single call with every single mortgage client. What's the question mark?
What's my interest rate going to be?
Think about the three buckets. Mark's just asked me what the interest rate is going to be. If I have not created any framing and I tell him the interest rate's going to be 7%, I may have ended the opportunity to engage this customer because I don't know if that customer is comparing that to 12% or is comparing that to 3%. So if a customer were to ask, what's your interest rate? The way to take back control is that's exactly what we're going to find out together. Tell me, how long have you lived in your home? Guys, let me give you a secret. It doesn't matter what the business is. Here's the secret about how you can take back control. It's 3 words. When you feel like you have lost control of an interaction, the 3 words are, I'm just curious. Curiosity is how we show and demonstrate for people that we care. In fact, the Latin verb cura means to care. By the way, this is also called a sharp angle. If someone has taken control of a meeting and you want to take control back, if you say, I'm just curious, they'll stop talking because they think they've just sparked some thinking. So guys, think about using these words, I'm just curious, and taking back control. We've talked about how asking allows you to be in control and set context. All right, Mark, where are we going next?
Let's go with nice. We referenced that the last time we had a podcast.
And I like that it's sort of the Keystone Card here.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what I want you to know, folks. Anyone who tells you it's not personal, it's just business, they're wrong. It's all personal. When Michael Corleone looked at someone in The Godfather and said, it's just business, it was never marked business. So when we're dealing with people, we are far more likely to say yes to people we like than people we don't like. Guys, there's 3 shortcuts if you want to connect with people on a personal level. The first shortcut, find something in common. I call these the 3 C's if you guys are going to write these down. Today, you have something in common with every human being on the planet. We're all in the same storm. We're all on different boats, but we're all in the same storm. You can start the conversation by focusing on things you have in common. Second C, faster way, guys. If you want people to like you, pay them a compliment. When you pay someone a compliment, you're basically saying, I like you. When you find something in common, you're basically saying, I'm like you. These are, from a survival standpoint, really important. We feel less at risk with people who are of our tribe, of our group. We feel less at risk with people we know like us. And by the way, the brain science is clear. When you pay someone a compliment, they release a chemical in their brain called dopamine. Dopamine, folks, makes you feel really good. You guys could be natural drug dealers. Pay people compliments. And the third is the most powerful, collaboration, characterized by this phrase, we got your back. That's what people want to know from you guys right now, that you got their back. And in fact, when Dr. Cialdini retired a few years ago, who I was sharing with you, wrote this seminal book, he said the most important concept that I want to share with everyone now, and this was before COVID-19, is the concept of unity. People are looking to be a part of something with you. They want to know that your arm is around them. There are 3 words of unity, folks, to consider using in your presentations, in your interactions, in your conversations with anyone. The 3 words are we, us, and our. There's an amazing part of Arch. It's called McNeil and Company. And McNeil and Company has a tagline. In fact, it's not just a tagline. It's the password for their Wi-Fi. Mark, what is it? You know what it is.
We are who we insure.
We are who we insure. Folks, I think one of the best messages I've ever heard. All right, so we've talked about ask. We've talked about nice. Mark, where are we going next? Well, we're making good time. All right, brother. I'm liking it.
Let's go trust.
Trust. There are 3 shortcuts that we all look for when we're looking for formal institutions, organizations we can trust. Now, I have an acquaintance. I really like him. I hope we're going to become good friends, but he's a brain scientist and he lives in Amsterdam, and his name is Timon. Timon is a writer and a scientist, works with some of the biggest companies in the world, and he says that there's a continuum of trust from informal sources of trust to formal sources of trust. And in Timon's research, for the last 15 years, there has been a shift to informal. People looking to influencers on Instagram, kids talking to their peers for answers. You know what Timon and his clients are finding now? That no longer applies. The shift has come back almost entirely to formal institutions. We want to listen to Dr. Fauci. We don't want to listen to people who don't have background. We want to listen to people who are honest brokers of information and who have the trappings of authority. There are three very powerful trappings of authority. The first is uniforms. What you see something dressed up in, folks, their uniform. Yes, just like when that police officer pulled you over the last time for speeding, you didn't ask for more identification because her uniform and her car were trappings of authority. The way we show up, actually what we wear, what we drive matters. It sends a message. I'm not saying it's good. I'm saying it is. It just is. So all these bearded people in t-shirts on web calls, cut it out. Okay, we're looking to believe that you're effective. We're looking to believe that you're handling this the right way. We're looking for shortcuts. You know, you walk into a doctor's
and you
office.
made me put this shirt on today for that reason, Dean.
I also made you put big boy pants on, but that is not important. What is important is that I iron these shirts myself because the message we send, you know, you guys have a behavior that's been rolling out at within Arch. You got 14 behaviors Mark's focusing on. You know, the one this week is be meticulous. Now that behavior is related to a core Arch value. What's the core Arch value, Mark, related to be meticulous?
We work hard and smart.
We work hard and smart, and the way we manifest that value is by being meticulous, okay? And let me tell you the behavioral psychology here. You being meticulous is also in how you show up. You're sending a message in how you show up. Okay, so we've talked about uniform. Let's talk about diplomas. You walk into a doctor's office, you look up on the wall. Mark knows this about you. Some of you know this about me. I started going blind when I was 17. When I was 29, I was actually blind for 6 months. A few years ago, though, I got my eyes completely fixed at an institution called the Wills Eye Institute in Philadelphia. You walk into the floor where my doctor was, and there was a banner, and it said, "World's first, America's best, U.S. News and World Report, #1 ranked ophthalmology department in the world." And I looked at my friend who was with me and I said, we are in the right place. Now, we're going to talk more about this when we get to the evidence card, but when you show people your diploma, you're basically saying, here's what we do, here's who we've done it for, and that banner was a demonstration of the impact they've had. Guys, I refer to this as your 3D diploma. Now, we could go deeper for anyone on this call if you're interested and help you create a 3D diploma for yourself, but what you need to know is we trust people in uniforms, those with diplomas, and titles like that third-party endorsement that Will's Eye had from U.S. News and World Report. All right, Mark, so trust we covered, nice we covered, ask we covered. We're at about the 23-minute mark. Where are we going next?
Let's go to motion.
A thing in motion tends to stay in motion. The fastest way for you to get someone in motion. You ready? Identify what you want them to do, and then break that commitment down into a series of smaller commitments. I'm not asking you to focus on 14 behaviors today. I'm asking you to focus on one behavior this week. This week, you guys are focusing on being meticulous. Next week, you're going to focus on be prepared. Folks, here's what you know, that if you focus on these things, they're going to build up over time. Ben Franklin started doing this in the 1700s. He had 13. One he focused on every week, 13 weeks in a quarter, 4 times a year. A thing in motion stays in motion. Ritz-Carlton did this as well with 40,000 employees around the world. But you can do it yourself with anything you're looking to improve. BJ Fogg is the head of the Stanford Behavioral Design Lab, and he says this: start small. A thing in motion stays in motion. Mark, I'm getting back in shape. It's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, there's an app.
Yep.
There's an app I've been using. It's the cardio app. It's free. It has a 7-minute workout. 7 minutes, Mark. Guess what?
Yeah.
I'm crushing that 7 minutes now. All right. So motion. By the way, folks, get things in writing. You're twice as likely to follow through with things you put in writing. It's called the commitment and consistency principle. Okay, we've talked about ask. We did nice. Well, you want to go to evidence next, Mark, since I just highlighted it?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, you highlighted it. I think let's do it then.
Evidence means proof. Let's think about the golden arches at McDonald's. Mark, what's that sign say? Down here, underneath the golden arches, what's that sign say?
Billions served.
Billions served. When Mark and I were kids, it said 3 served, and he and I had the first 2. In the 1970s, Mark, I remember the first time McDonald's put a number on this sign, it said 1 million served. Ray Kroc was a genius, folks. Massive growth of McDonald's through the 1970s. That sign kept changing. 1 million served, 5 million served, 10 million served, hundreds of millions served. Now it says, the biggest sign I've seen says over 100 billion served. And Mark, scientists have studied that sign. The sign says 2 things. When you're driving down the road in a town you've never been in with your family, the sign says 2 things, folks. It says, ain't great, but probably won't kill you today. When human beings are uncertain, their primary goal is to stay alive. They will avoid risk. They look to see evidence of what numbers of others have done. You know what that McDonald's sign is really saying? Consistency. I'm going to write this down, folks. The fact that you have done this, is it an AN or an EN? Did we agree on that, Mark?
We did. It's still E. It was E yesterday. It's still E today.
It's still, yeah. Okay. All right. Take it easy. Take it easy. Consistency. Consistency. But you know what your customers want from you? You know why they want consistent? Get ready, folks. No surprises. No surprises. Because a surprise could be what, Mark?
Danger.
Danger. Saber-toothed tiger. Bad. No, don't surprise me. The board doesn't want any surprises. Every group in this organization likes consistency, likes no surprises. We need to give them evidence, proof that they're safe. All right, so we've done motion, we've done ask, we've done nice, we've done evidence, trust. Mark, where are we going next?
How about give?
How about give? Let's focus on, there's 3 I's. This is the principle of reciprocity, and that's why it looks like this infinity symbol. When we give, people feel pressure to give back. Here's what you need to know. There are ways you can trigger this. The most important one today I want you guys to focus on is how you guys are providing information, more specifically, in chaos, in uncertainty, how you are using shortcuts to let your customers and your family know 3 things. I hear you. I understand what you want, and I am acknowledging that I am moving forward. The military, I have friends. My friend, General Jeff Foley, was a brigadier general that had a cyber command. I have another friend, fighter pilot, that I've been telling you guys about in these webcasts that I've been doing. But you see it in the movies. When a U.S. soldier is given an order, he says, or she says, hooah! Hooah means heard, understood, acknowledged. Weeks ago, I submitted my small business application to one of the largest banks in America. It went into the void. I heard nothing. 10 days ago, I got an email. The loan's been approved. Then I heard nothing. Mark knows. On Tuesday morning, I spent an hour trying to get through to the right people. There are no right people. There is no one who has an answer. When I asked the young lady, Kathleen, what would you tell someone in your family? What would you tell someone in your family? She said, I would tell them to hope and pray. This is from my bank, folks. Hope and pray. Listen, let people know you hear them. Let them know you understand. Acknowledge where they are in the process and that you're moving forward. All right, Mark, so we've covered motion, ask, give, nice, evidence, trust. I think we're good. Should we just call it a day?
How about supply? Can we do that one?
Well, we could. Scientists say this is the most powerful card on the whole list. It's the most powerful card, but they also say that no one at Arch is going to use it. So I think we ought to just, what do you think, Mark? We ought to just.
We could try. We've proven scientists wrong before.
Well, what I just did with that card, something the old time sales trainers who loved to be manipulative and laugh about it would call the takeaway. This is so great, but I can't tell you right now. This car is so awesome, but it's too much car for you, kid. See, when you make something a limited supply, or where you set a deadline, we have to have your answer by the end of the day. When you tell someone that there's a penalty if they don't do something, it triggers an organ in their brain. I'm going to show it to the group right now, because when salespeople do that to us, there's an organ that goes off in our brain, Mark, and it looks like this.
Mm-hmm.
It's called the BS button. And folks, if you want to increase compliance to a request, you can increase compliance to a request 4 times, 4x, by using one word in that request. The word is because. Limited numbers, short deadlines, penalties, those are BS unless you tell us the valid reason. I need your answer by noon on Saturday because that's the end of the Mercedes sales quarter, and the promotional rate I can't get for you, and I want you to save that. Okay, now I get it. Even when we were kids, Mark, your mom would tell you to do something. You'd ask her why. I don't know this for sure. I wasn't there. And your mom would look at you and say what? Because I said so. Because is a trigger word. Folks, if you take nothing else away from this, know that the brain is constantly scanning the environment, looking for cues, shortcuts, patterns. Because is one of those. Because is a shortcut. It's a cue that tells us, okay, this person has a reason. So I know I've covered a lot of ground, and Mark, we're right about at the 31-minute mark. Yep. I know what you guys are doing with this behavioral program you've started. You're creating visuals and cues for people that can help them spark routines. And we know that if we do that, they'll develop habits around those things. So there's a process that you're following with them as you guys roll out this behavioral program with Arch, and I've been honored to be a part of it. You're creating a space for success to happen. And the one thing I know about the work you do and Arch does, everything is in the process of becoming better. That's the choice that you guys are making. Right. All right, Mark. Final words, final questions. We're at about the 32-minute mark before I end up.
Just reminder to everybody, please send both Dean and I a message letting us know what in particular you took away from this that you're going to use. Some of we've been doing this earlier this week, and we've heard from a lot of people. I would say the things we've heard most about are framing. And the phrase "I'm just curious" was resonating a lot with people. Cool.
So, Mark, I had the great honor of having you on a webcast I did last week. Every Friday, folks, I've been doing a 30-minute webcast. My first interview was with a brain scientist. If you'd like to learn how to eliminate stress in about 8 seconds, Dr. Bill Crawford shared that. My second interview was with a Hollywood actor. If you want to be you on your best day, Michael would be someone to look to. I had Cujo, my fighter pilot friend, who's led F-22 fighter squadrons in combat and was the Air Force's lead on their debrief program. My buddy Steve Woodich talked about Generation Z, understanding the aliens. My buddy Bill talked about turning failures into successes. Mark, I have all of those videos on one web page, and I'll send it as a link to everyone if they want to go and watch it. It's YESCALATE.com/about. They're all there. And I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to contribute and to make a difference.
Thank you.
And you tell me when we're closing up. You ready, brother?
We're good. Thank you.
3, 2, 1. Wishing you guys a great day. Cheers.